We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
I'm just not a very emotional woman at all.
No, you think much more like a dude than Gavin Newsom thinks like
Without question, he is more feminine than I am.
1,000%.
And I am...
Imagine this Candace Owens with that trademark grin looking straight into the camera like she's about to end a politician's career early because her focus is Gavin Newsom, the man who treats California like his own TikTok experiment gone off the rails. You won't believe the revelation she drops, the dig she makes, and how she leaves him looking like a kid who just lost his allowance. This isn't politics, it's comedy disguised as reality.
Always been that way, like the emotional arguments and all that stuff. Doesn't like I just want logic. Tell me what the rational thing is, and I'll make a decision. Which is why I was very no masks, no this for kids, not vaccinating the kids, leave the schools open. Just much more logical. I'm not fear based in anything that I do.
Yes.
I think fear is an awful driver of.
Before we continue, hit that like button and subscribe because you don't want to miss this. California has always been sold like a Hollywood blockbuster: sunsets, beaches, wine country, and celebrities waving from convertibles. But somewhere between the red carpets and the smog warnings, it turned into a real-life dystopian film directed by Gavin Newsom. And just when he thought no one would step up to challenge his slick hair and dramatic hand movements, along comes Candace Owens armed with facts sharp enough to slice through his designer suits and that constant grin.
It is always yields to completely irrational decision making when you're doing things out of any breath of emotion. And so that is sort of why I think that, a lot of women that are left-leaning find me to be quite distasteful because how could I not be neurotic and crazy and emotional and upset by the question, so upset by the question that I don't even consider the answer.
The moment she locks eyes on Newsom, it's less of a debate and more like a demolition derby. He shows up in his eco-friendly taxpayer-funded bumper car, and she comes in with a monster truck fitted with spikes on the front. The outcome is about what you'd expect: tire marks all over his carefully polished image.
Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a fucking con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician, just a stone cold, narrative driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and that's a human being. With Newsom, you've got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person. I don't think people want that, but they might want it more than they want President.
Because let's be real, Newsom has perfected the act of looking important while California crumbles behind him like a sandcastle at high tide. He walks into press conferences with the confidence of someone who thinks he's trying out for the role of President Ken in the next Barbie sequel, while residents are stumbling over tents, dodging thefts at drugstores, and paying gas prices so steep they might as well buy a horse.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost the popular vote and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. But
Kennedy, I think the answer is yes. Was
it because of Israel? Yes. Interest rates? Yes. Too woke? Yes. It's like every bad policy that trickled up to the White House during the Biden administration started in California. That state is responsible for the worst politicians in modern history. And he is at the top of the list. And there are some ignoramuses on that list.
And Candace isn't here to audition. She's here to drag his record through the mud like a toddler with a juice box. The facts speak on their own. Billions spent to fix homelessness, yet California looks more like an outdoor camping expo than the Golden State. Newsom claims it's complicated. And of course it is, mostly because he acts like tossing taxpayer money at consultants and committees is the same as actually helping people.
Their houses have been burned, all their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
The development plan.
Meanwhile, Los Angeles sidewalks have turned into permanent Airbnb listings only without bathrooms, and San Francisco now gives guided tours of its best open-air drug markets. Candace locks in on this spectacle and says what everyone is already thinking: California isn't fixing homelessness, it's franchising it. Other states aren't sending problems to California. California is shipping them out like a subscription deal. Pay $29.99 in state taxes and get your own encampment on the corner of Main Street and Sadness Avenue, and then comes crime. Once California was the place to chase dreams, now it's where you go if you want to steal $949 worth of goods without punishment. That's not comedy, that's real. Law stores look like Fort Knox with locks and plastic covers over toothpaste, while thieves treat Target like a buffet. Candace doesn't need to stretch the truth, she just shows clips of people walking out with TVs under their arms as if it's Costco on free sample day, but Newsom smiles through it. As if crime stats are just jealous numbers trying to mess with his Instagram feed. He talks about reimagining justice, which is a polished way of saying criminals can reimagine your living room as their new pawn shop stock. Candace calls it exactly what it is: legalized looting sprayed with progressive perfume.
He's the guy who thinks he's going to run for president when, so much of the state is absolutely unlivable. And so every project that he's championed, he's now trying to demonize conveniently, and people are not that dumb. Like, people have been through it in his state. They are sick of him. They want him to leave. And maybe that's why so many people around him are like, you should totally run for president. So he gets out of the state.
Yes. Move away.
And if you thought California was finished losing residents, think again. People are leaving faster than extras at a canceled pilot taping. The state is shrinking while Texas and Florida are growing. And not just because of barbecue and theme parks. Families are tired of paying luxury rent prices for the privilege of stepping over needles on the way to their cars. Companies are escaping like it's the last helicopter out of Saigon, and Newsom keeps insisting everything is fine like a waiter at a 5-star restaurant serving rat stew with garnish. Candace doesn't just point out the exodus, she turns it into a punchline. California's population drop has become the most expensive U-Haul commercial in the world. You don't need billboards when the governor himself is the biggest reason people pack up and move east. The irony is that half the people leaving are liberals who voted for the same policies that wrecked their state, and now they are bringing that recipe for disaster to Arizona, Texas, and Tennessee. But what really fires Candace up is that Newsom doesn't view any of this as failure. He sees it as a resume. He struts around like California is his proof of concept for America's future. Imagine applying for a job at NASA and handing in a paper airplane that bursts into flames on the spot. That's Newsom's pitch for higher office. Intro 8. She drives the point home. Newsom isn't governing California, he's auditioning for the White House. Every speech, every photo op, every smug smile is part of the campaign he pretends doesn't exist. While his state literally runs out of water and power, he's busy slicking his hair and practicing how to pin everything on Texas. And this is where Candace makes California her exhibit A. She doesn't just say it's failing, she lays out exactly why it's a warning sign for the rest of the nation. High taxes, unchecked crime, collapsing infrastructure, exploding homelessness, and the illusion of green energy that still leans on fossil fuels to keep the lights on. She argues California is proof of what happens when style outruns substance, when speeches replace solutions, and when a governor thinks good hair can substitute for good leadership. Meanwhile, Newsom keeps playing America's cool uncle, handing out cliches like mints, wearing that constant look of someone who just got praised for his watch. Candace tears this apart, pointing out that if charm and charisma could repair roads, California would have streets paved in gold. The entertainment value is undeniable too. Candace has a gift for roasting opponents in a way that is both biting and funny. Newsom says progress, she hears regress. He says equity, she calls it excuses. He says California is a model, she cracks yes, a model for a before photo in a bankruptcy. Add the more he polishes his lines, the more she sharpens hers.
Emergence has made Gavin Newsom suddenly vulnerable to being recalled. It looked like Gavin Newsom was going to kind of cruise to a victory here and avoid the recall, but COVID might be changing things a little bit.
Well, part of the reason I wrote the column was I am having a bit of a change of heart, and part of it is because last time I was on Glenn Beck's show with you, Glenn asked me, and I said that I didn't think that the recall was going to win, and I don't think that that's necessarily my position today. To be clear, I'm not betting that Gavin Newsom is going to lose. That would be just too good. The world doesn't seem to work that way.
She drives the point home. Newsom isn't governing California, he's auditioning for the White House. Every speech, every photo op, every smug smile is part of the campaign he pretends doesn't exist. While his state literally runs out of water and power, he's busy slicking his hair and practicing how to pin everything on Texas. And this is where Candace makes California her exhibit A. She doesn't just say it's failing, she lays out exactly why it's a warning sign for the rest of the nation. High taxes, Unchecked crime, collapsing infrastructure, exploding homelessness, and the illusion of green energy that still leans on fossil fuels to keep the lights on, she argues California is proof of what happens when style outruns substance, when speeches replace solutions, and when a governor thinks good hair can substitute for good leadership. Meanwhile, Newsom keeps playing America's cool uncle, handing out cliches like mints, wearing that constant look of someone who just got praised for his watch. Candace tears this apart, pointing out that if charm and charisma could repair roads, California would have streets paved in gold. The entertainment value is undeniable too. Candace has a gift for roasting opponents in a way that is both biting and funny. Newsom says progress, she hears regress. He says equity, she calls it excuses. He says California is a model, she cracks yes, a model for a before photo in a bankruptcy. Add the more he polishes his lines, the more she sharpens hers.
Well, in a kind of reptilian way. I mean, charming in the sense that his whole life is devoted to winning people over.
Yes.
Kind of like Bill Clinton was. And I think he's good at it. But I also think someone said to me the other day, Newsom could pass a lie detector test on saying anything. Like there's a coldness inside that
he's
allows
a sociopath. I think he's a snake oil salesman. I think he's a liar. And I think that he destroyed the state of California. Full stop. I've got no love for Gavin Newsom.
And the audience can't look away because it's not just politics, it's spectacle. Newsom brings the Hollywood polish, Candace brings the steel-toed boots. Together it's less a debate and more like a reality show where one contestant keeps bragging about future projects while the other keeps reminding everyone his current project is already burning. But under the humor, the stakes are real. Candace points out that California isn't some isolated island of dysfunction, its policies spread like glitter. Unwanted, hard to get rid of, and always showing up where least expected, whether it's environmental rules soft on crime laws or bloated welfare programs. What begins in California often gets shipped across the country, and she's warning that America doesn't need an encore. The clash turns into a metaphor for two competing futures. On one side, there's Newsom's California vision, progressive government heavy and wrapped in social justice branding. On the other side, there's Candace calling for accountability, personal responsibility, and policies that don't treat crime like an eccentric lifestyle choice. It's not just a fight of words, it's a battle of worldviews. In this matchup, Candace Owens is like a stand-up comic armed with receipts, while Gavin Newsom is like a motivational speaker stuck in a self-help loop. She's pointing to real issues with real evidence, while he's busy drafting the trailer for Gavin 2028. The hair strikes back.
For a little over a week now, California Governor Gavin Newsom has been posting in the style of President Donald Trump. And he's getting a lot of admiration for it. So he's basically engaging in this trolling campaign, and he's been very successful with it on X. Many of those posts have actually racked up tens of thousands of likes. And look, it does play well in the paradigm of left versus right. When you see politics as team sports and nothing more than tribal politics.
And just when it seems like she's done, she twists the knife. Could this man whose state is bleeding people money and sanity really be the Democratic Party's secret weapon? Candace laughs at the thought, because if California is the blueprint, then America's future under Newsom looks less like the Golden State and more like a blooper reel. By the end, she isn't just calling him out, she's tearing down the illusion Newsom's leadership isn't a shining model, it's a warning. It's the story of how a state with endless resources, natural beauty, and economic power managed to turn itself into a punchline, and she's making sure the rest of the country gets the joke before it's too late. So the question remains, will America fall for the slick packaging and polished hair, or will it see the dumpster fire burning right behind him? Candace Owens has made her case clear. California isn't the dream under Gavin Newsom, it's the nightmare still being sold as a brochure, and the irony is sharp. Newsom struts into every photo op like he's the second coming of Camelot, waiting for the presidential stage lights to hit his hair at the perfect angle.
I've listened to so many of my colleagues and members of the media say that these are mostly peaceful protests. It's like saying that Harvey Weinstein is mostly a feminist because he didn't rape every woman who came into his office. He only raped some of them. Number three, in terms of Governor Newsom, his record shows this. He's the dictionary definition of weenie.
But behind him, the reality is less shining city on a hill and more a burning dumpster on Venice Beach. The state's GDP might be huge, but so are the debts, the suffocating regulations, and the number of people sleeping in tents a block away from luxury coffee shops charging $10 for a latte. Candace doesn't just poke holes in the image, she takes a sledgehammer to it. She points out this is a state where Hollywood stars need private security just to get their mail, where moms carry pepper spray too. the grocery store, and where small businesses have to budget for theft as if it's a monthly expense, and still Newsom insists California is leading the nation. Sure, it's leading, but straight off a cliff, dragging anyone foolish enough to follow the homelessness crisis alone plays like a non-stop parody of broken leadership. Billions spent, endless promises, new programs rolled out each year with fancy names that sound like they were dreamed up during a yoga retreat, and yet the streets stay crowded with tense needles and human misery. Candace doesn't just criticize, she slices. She says California's so-called fixes are like sprinkling glitter on a landfill. It might shine in the sun, but the stench is still unbearable. And the kicker is Newsom pretends this is progress. He flashes charts and numbers, grinning like a game show host, revealing the wrong prize. According to him, California's plan is working. According to anyone with eyes, it looks like a camping expo nobody ever signed up for.
Mal, any message from you to Governor Newsom or Karen Bass tonight?
Spend less on hair gel. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, what can I say to them? Not big admirer of either.
I don't like him.
Then comes the crime problem. California, under Newsom's visionary policies, has basically turned shoplifting into a casual pastime. If your side hustle used to be reselling sneakers, congratulations, now you can skip the middleman and grab them straight off the shelf thanks to Proposition 47. Candace calls it what it really is, a government-approved shopping spree. She makes it clear that in Newsom's California, criminals aren't punished, they're practically rewarded. It's like a rewards program, but instead of points, you walk away with free merchandise and a pat on the back for reimagining justice. Businesses are closing down faster than Newsom can rehearse his next campaign line. Candace notes that even Walgreens, a store that sells Band-Aids and Advil, has to keep deodorant locked up like it's gold bullion when something as basic as toothpaste has to be sealed in a fortress. Maybe, just maybe, the governor's policies aren't working. And then there are the taxes. California has the highest state income tax in the country, and for what, so people can deal with broken infrastructure and potholes that look like sinkholes. Candace ridicules the absurdity of paying luxury rates for bargain basement governance. She paints it as a state charging champagne prices while serving flat soda and stale crackers. The result is a mass exit that looks less like random moves and more like a coordinated escape. Californians are leaving in droves, flooding states like Texas and Florida. U-Haul trucks are so scarce they've basically become a black market commodity.
Gavin, I moderated, I think you brought it up, I moderated the debate with DeSantis. And I have tried to reason with this man, and he does not listen, ever. Maybe, is this the tipping point for him? Did you get the feeling he really wants to change?
I don't know. I think he wants to be president, Sean, more than...
Candace compares it to a bad party where everyone bails early, and the only one insisting it's still fun is the host standing alone in his kitchen pouring another glass of overpriced wine. But the kicker, the cherry on top, is Newsom's ambition. He actually thinks this record qualifies him for the White House. He struts around as if California's track record is worth bragging about, as though the rest of America is begging for higher taxes, dirtier streets, and rolling blackouts. Candace laughs at the absurdity, saying if California is the model, then America's future under Newsom looks like a warning written by people who failed economics 101. She also knows how to make the clash personal and entertaining. Newsom's entire style is built on appearances, slick hair, tailored suits, and speeches that sound rehearsed in front of a mirror. Candace dismantles that image like it's her side hustle. She paints him as a politician so obsessed with optics he'd probably schedule a photo shoot during a natural disaster. California could be sliding into the Pacific, and Newsom would still be practicing his grin in the reflection of the waves. The best part is how Candace shows the contrast in delivery. Newsom speaks in lofty phrases that sound like they were drafted by a PR intern who just discovered a thesaurus, while Candace cuts through the fluff with the edge of a roast master. He says visionary leadership. She hears wishful thinking. He says California is a model. She translates it into California is the warning label on America's medicine bottle.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear California's in a state of turmoil. And I ask my fellow Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in?
And the more she breaks him down, the more his future ambitions look like a bad punchline. Could this really be the Democratic Party's ace in the hole? The man running a state. People are literally escaping. Candace jokes that if this is their plan, Republicans should be sending him flowers for making their job easier. After all, nothing says vote for me like a track record of empty promises, sky-high taxes, and policies that make toothpaste harder to buy than a luxury car. And the kicker, she frames it as A choice for the rest of America. Do you want a country that looks like Newsom's California, expensive, unsafe, and collapsing under its own weight? Or do you want leadership that actually recognizes problems and solves them? It's not just a dig at one governor, it's a warning shot at anyone who thinks charisma can replace competence, because in the end, Candace Owens versus Gavin Newsom isn't just commentary, it's theater, it's satire, and it's a preview of the fights ahead, one side hiding behind polish and platitudes, the other tearing the curtain down with facts, humor, and no patience for nonsense. And when the dust clears, Newsom looks less like a presidential contender and more like a parody of everything broken in American politics.